fit in with the Deplorables. So I was blessed to represent Frisco in this area for 12 years, and I feel like I still do, given that I represent the whole state. So it's really a joy for me to be back here. I don't know if I've ever told you the story, but when I was elected to be Attorney General of Texas, I had to move to Austin. It was required by the Constitution. That's been changed. So a lot of my friends, knowing that I was from Collin County, that I had represented Frisco and McKinney and Allen, and that my lowest vote total was about 72%. That was when Perry got 39%. So obviously I'm moving to Austin, and my friends are concerned that it's very liberal, very Democratic. And I told them I don't really mind living in Austin because it's not that far from Texas. So I just want you to know that it's great to be back in Texas tonight. So are you guys okay if since I don't have that long, I'd like to tell a few Trump stories if you guys are okay with it. And some of you have probably heard it. I told it last week in Collin County, but I'm gonna repeat some of those stories because I think they're instructive. So I will admit that I was a Ted Cruz fan and that I supported Ted Cruz for president, and I thought Donald Trump at the time, I thought it wasn't even real, and I wasn't even sure if he was a Republican. Now, I turned out to be very wrong, and when he became the candidate, it wasn't a hard choice for me between Hillary and Donald Trump. So I supported Donald Trump, and certainly he delivered in a way that none of us expected. So my first experience, I'd gone to the White House with about 15 other attorney generals. I'd gotten to talk to him, been in the Oval Office, but then shortly after his election, he came to Texas for the NRA convention. You all have heard of the NRA. And they asked me if I would greet him. Pull it up, there you go. They asked me if I would greet him at the airport, and I said sure. So it's a cold, dreary day. We're waiting for the president to come in, and actually it was Ted Cruz and I, and we were also waiting for the vice president. He was the first one to come in on Air Force Two. He came off the plane. We said, "Welcome to Texas, Mr. Vice President," and then he went on to speak at the NRA convention. So we're waiting, and the advance guy comes up to me, and he says, "Hey, the president just texted me, and he wants to know if you would be willing to ride with him in the limo, the Beast, to the convention." Yeah. And I said, "Well, let me think about it." "Yes, I'll do it." So he comes in 20 minutes later, gets off the plane. Ted and I greet him. He said, "Let's get in the limo." So the Secret Service tells you where to sit, and I ended up sitting right next to the president. John Kelly was the chief of staff right across from me, facing me, and then Ted Cruz was facing the president. So we're driving in. It's about a 20-minute drive to the convention. Every street is blocked. The roads are blocked. I'm just kind of taking it all in, thinking, who would have thought? I mean, you don't expect to get to ride in the limo with the president. So we're riding in, and then he says, "Hey, Ken, who do you think I should endorse? I'm going to endorse you and Ted today, but who else?" And I gave him a few other statewide leaders who were going to be there, and I said, "You know, you should probably also endorse Angela Paxton." He said, "Who's that?" I said, "Well, she's my wife, and she's running for the Senate." He said, "Well, tell me about it." So I did, and he said, "Okay, I'll do it." I'm thinking, how does that happen? So we ride in, and when we got there, I was a little confused because I had my security detail with me. If they were not there, I had the Secret Service, and so I didn't know where to go. So I just kind of followed the president, and we walked into the convention center. We walked into this room, and when I looked in the room, only the president was in the room. And there was a big screen TV up, Pence was speaking, and I looked behind me, and there was nobody behind me. No Secret Service, no Ted Cruz, no John Kelly. I'm just looking in there going, okay, I missed my turn, but I don't know who to ask where to go. So I did what you would have done. I went and sat down next to the president. Why not, right? But I have to admit, I was in there thinking, when are they going to tell me to leave? I've done something wrong. So anyway, the president actually started quizzing me. He said, "No, I don't understand why you sued me over Obamacare." And I explained, I said, because it's unconstitutional. I went through the whole thing. And then he said, "Okay, why did you sue me over DACA?" So we had a 5 or 6 minute conversation over that. And I'm still just sitting there going, how is this possible? Like, I'm alone with the president. There's nobody in here. Something bad is going to happen to me, but it's got to be bad. Sure enough, 15 minutes goes by, we're alone. People start walking in. Secret Service, John Kelly walks in, Ted Cruz, but nobody bothers us. Another 10 minutes goes by, and finally the president's getting up. He's got to go speak, and he says, I said, "Hey, don't forget to endorse Angela. He goes, I'm not going to forget. So he goes out there. I don't know how anybody follows him on a teleprompter because he adds his own stuff in the whole way. And sure enough, my wife, who was at a luncheon at the convention, just gets blown up. As a matter of fact, my assistant, Michelle, was with her. She was her campaign manager. And she starts getting message after message saying, congratulations on the president endorsing you. And she's like, what? And she finally, after about 20 of them, she goes, somehow, some way, I know Ken's involved in this. I just don't know how. So she finally finds me, the president speaking. He endorses me, endorses Ted, he endorses a few others, and he endorses Angela, as I said. And she'd come in after that endorsement. And I said, I want you to meet him. So when he got done, we went back behind the stage as he was walking out. And he goes, well, I knew there was a good reason that I endorsed her. As a matter of fact, Ken, I like her a lot better than you. And then he walks away and says, see you later, Ken. And I'm just going, what was that? So that's not the end of the story. So there's a couple of more incidences that I'll have a point at the end. So Santa Fe shooting, you remember, the president comes into Ellington Air Force Base in Houston area. And this time the governor greets him. Ted Cruz is there, Dan Patrick. So the governor's talking to him first as he comes off of Air Force One. We're on the tarmac. And then Ted and I and Dan walk up, and within 30 seconds, the president says, Ken, what am I going to do about Obamacare? I don't want to defend Obamacare. What do I do? And I won't tell you which statewide official, but one of them kind of interrupted and started talking about something that was unrelated. And the president, after about 30 seconds, no, wait a minute. I'm talking about Obamacare. Ken, what do I do? I got interrupted again. And finally, the president said, Ken, go sit in the limo. And I was like, oh, okay, I'll do that. So I walked back over to the limo by myself this time, and I asked the Secret Service, where do you want me? And they sat me again right next to where the president was going to sit. I ended up spending the whole day with the president. At the end of the day, he said, look, I want you to call my Solicitor General, Noel Francisco, and tell him that I don't want to defend Obamacare. I don't want to defend DACA. And I said, well, Mr. President, I don't think you understand this. Like, I'm suing you. I'm not on your side. Like, I'm suing you. I don't represent you. I represent Texas. He goes, no, I don't care. He goes, I don't want to defend. He said, don't talk to Jeff Sessions. He didn't like Jeff much at the time. Don't talk to Rob Rubenstein. Call Noel and tell him that I like him, and then tell him that I don't want him to defend these cases. I said, okay, I'll do it. And he said, then I want you to report back to me. I said, Mr. President, I don't know how to call you. And he told his assistant, he said, look, make sure he can get through, give him your number, whenever he needs to talk to me, let him through. Right, it's pretty awesome. So I called Noel Francisco, Solicitor General of the United States, and I said, Noel, this is very awkward for me because you know I'm suing you over these two cases. And I just want you to know the president had asked me to call you, and he wanted me to tell you that he likes you. And he also wanted me to tell you not to defend these cases. And I went through and explained our rationale. And then I said, and then I want you to know he asked me to call him back and report back kind of how this is going with you. And he goes, well, can you just call the White House counsel instead? And I said, nope, I'm calling the president. So you decide what you want to do. So they had a deadline to either file their brief against us or file for us. And they ended up on back-to-back days, consecutive days. Guess what? They switched sides, and they came on to Texas on both of those cases. So despite that, there was pressure, constant pressure. And I'll tell you two more stories related to this. So Angela and I go out to Las Vegas, not to gamble. Our daughter is being deployed to Afghanistan. And so we want to say goodbye to her. We want to meet the people that she's going with. She's embedded in a special forces unit doing intelligence. And so we first meet her commander, Lieutenant Colonel Ryan Holiday. And Lieutenant Colonel Ryan Holiday has been in the Air Force for 17 years. And we go into the office and we talk to him for a few minutes. He says, your daughter's doing great. And then we're kind of rotating around. We're meeting all of her friends that she's about to be deployed with. These guys are amazing. They drop behind enemy lines. They rescue pilots, they rescue assets, and so my staff starts calling me, and of course, I'm ignoring them because I'm meeting these really amazing people that are about to go to Afghanistan. And finally, they started calling Angela, and she ignores them. So Anton and I run into the restroom, and all of a sudden there's a bang in the door, and my daughter there, Second Lieutenant Abigail Paxton, says, "Dad, POTUS wants to talk to you." I said, "Okay, I'll call him back." So she takes me to the conference room, and I get him on the phone, and the first thing I said is, "Mr. President, before we talk about anything, I'm at Nellis Air Force Base, and my daughter's about to be deployed. I want you to talk to her when we're done, and I want you to talk to her commander." And so my daughter, being the smart girl that she is, she disappears. I didn't know where she'd gone. And she goes back to her commander's office and says, "Sir, sorry to bother you again, but I just need to let you know that POTUS wants to talk to you." And he looks at her and says, "Who?" She said, "Sir, the President of the United States, Donald Trump, wants to talk to you." And he looks at her and says, "Lieutenant, what are you talking about? My dad is talking to the President of the United States right now. He's going to walk into your office, and the President of the United States is going to want to talk to you." And this colonel says, "Lieutenant, what do I say?" And she said, "Sir, my dad will be on the phone with you. It'll be on speaker. Just go with it. He'll help you." And I thought that was pretty genius of her to do that. So sure enough, the call was about Obamacare. It was about his lawyers. It was the White House counsel. It was the Solicitor General, and they were trying to get him to switch sides. And sure enough, I get this call a couple of days later, and the White House counsel, Solicitor General are telling me we're switching sides. They didn't tell me exactly what. They're switching sides. California had to intervene, and they were going to switch back with California. So we were expecting that day a brief that would switch back on Obamacare. So the President of the United States was going to switch. And at the end of the day, my Solicitor General came in and said, "Guess what? It's a one-page brief. It's not 16 pages going against it. It's a one-page brief saying that we support Texas, that what Texas is doing is right, that Obamacare is unconstitutional." And my Solicitor General looked at me and he said, "That is exactly the opposite of what they told us was going to happen. What happened?" And I said, "The President of the United States overruled all his lawyers. I guarantee you." And he said, "Why do you think that?" I said, "Look at the result. I know, we've talked to all of his top lawyers. They all wanted him to switch. He didn't do it." Last part of this story, 3 days later, Monday morning, I'd just been out running. I was trying to get in the shower. I had a couple of meetings coming up. I get a call from Madeline at the time, the president's assistant. She said, "Would you take a call from the president in the next 30 minutes? And I said, "Sure." So I did not get in the shower. 30 minutes goes by, no call. 45 minutes goes by, no call. An hour goes by, no call. So what did I do? I got in the shower. And I left my phone so I could see it. And I saw that number come across while I was in the shower. You know what it feels like to miss a call from the president? Fortunately, I called back and I said, "Madeline, sorry I missed the call. I was in the shower." Patches me through to the president. He says, "Ken, did you see what I did last week?" And I said, "Yes, sir." He goes, "Do you know why I did it?" And I said, "Well, I have my theories. I think I know why you did it." And he said, "Well, they came in, they tell me how, the pre-existing condition deal is a bad deal for me, that it's going to hurt me in my election. And then they wanted me to sign this document that said that I was going to switch sides, and I was going to side with California over Texas." And he said, when I said that, I could not side with California over Texas, and so he stuck with us. So why do I tell you those stories? One, I think we all know that Trump did some amazing things, that he did things that we expect people to do.